Hey, what's up everybody? This is Justin Johnson, and I'm here by the Singing River, here right in Muscle Shoals, and I've got some good buddies of mine out here. Dave over there, and Alan Van Story, and Nikki behind the camera. And Alan over here, Alan Van Story, is Alan Van Story of Van Story Guitars, and he built this beautiful 6-string cigar box guitar right here. It's built out of a brick house box. It's got a nice Fender style 6-string neck, pair of mini humbucker pickups here, and just sounds beautiful, plays beautiful, and this is hot off the bench. He just finished this up a couple days ago, and I'm firing it up here for the first time. There's the inside so you can see it. I always like these boxes he builds where you can open them right up. Just close that latch. And this is another guitar that was built for my Kickstarter, for my new album, my upcoming album, If Walls Could Talk. So everyone stay tuned for the release date on that. If Walls Could Talk should be out in about a month or so, and you can always go to justinjohnsonlive.com and find out more details on that. But, I'm doing this live stream right now because I've been asked a couple questions today, and I get asked this question a lot, specifically about hill country blues style playing. And since Alan Van Story's from up in North Mississippi, where hill country blues style playing comes from, I figured what a good time to talk about it with everybody, and also answer any questions people might have. But basically, when I think about hill country blues style and how that distinguishes itself from other styles of blues, like Delta blues or you know, Chicago blues, different styles like that, is for one, it can be done on acoustic or electric, but primarily you hear it done on electric instruments. And there's a very rhythmic, a really strong rhythmic style to Mississippi hill country blues. Basically, you're creating an entire band sound. So you have to really pay attention to the rhythm and the syncopation, really getting that foot tapping. That's the main thing. More important than even playing in tune or hitting the right notes. You got to make sure your foot taps like this. But the way you do that is creating a nice, often repetitive, real strong rhythm. And a lot of times that rhythm is being played with your thumb. So when you start playing a song like the song I was just playing, the way that you want to start learning this style is just by getting your thumb in. Get your thumb down. Don't worry about what your other fingers are doing first. And I've got this 6-string guitar tuned to a standard tuning, which is E on the low string, E, A, D, G, B, E. And again, that's standard tuning. And what you want to do when you're playing this to get this rhythm tight is just start plucking that low string, that low E string, with your thumb. And what I'm doing is I'm really lightly palm muting while I do that. I'm palm muting the low string with my hand right here. And I do that by putting my palm right over the end of the string. So instead of letting the string ring out like that, you put your palm over it to mute it. That's why it's called palm muting. And you want to practice this technique hours and hours and hours. Get a nice strong rhythm with just your thumb, just hitting one note. You don't even need your left hand to do this. You can be doing this while you're reading or watching TV, doing something else. Don't do it while you're driving. That's a bad idea. But you can do this as you're sitting around the house. It's a great way to practice. And you want to be able to hold a conversation when you're doing this. You want to be able to really just go on autopilot with your thumb. And then to get the rest of this rhythm, that's when you start playing nice first simple riffs, maybe even just one note, 1 or 2 notes, maybe on the high E string with like open and 3rd fret. So you start out nice and simple like that, and as you're getting better at it, as it gets more comfortable, throw in more notes. So, even if I'm just playing open on the high E string and 3rd fret on the high E string, you can come up with different rhythms to play. that does is the more you do that, it builds up the muscle memory in your hands. It makes you able to separate your thumb from the rest of your fingers, because what you're essentially doing is creating multiple guitar parts on the same instrument. So you're playing the bass line down low, and you're playing the lead guitar part up high. So that riff right there, if I'm just playing the top riff, it's just a nice simple blues riff using the minor pentatonic scale in the key of E. But it sounds more complex because I'm playing that bass note while I'm doing it. And as you get more comfortable, maybe you want to switch chords. You can go to that A string and go to your 4 chord in the key of E. And then go back to the E. Now I'm just making something up. So you can see how the more advanced you get with it, the more it sounds like a whole band playing, and that's the point of that style. That's really what defines that style to a large degree, is that you're really playing that strong syncopated rhythm down low. Oftentimes you don't even change chords, you might just play that root note down low the whole time in a lot of songs. But then there's a nice strong syncopated bluesy rhythm up high on those higher strings. And oftentimes that melody syncs up with vocals. If there's vocals in the songs, a lot of times the guitar player is playing the same melody line as the singer. And another technique, this is a little more, taking this technique a little bit further, I was talking about palm muting the low string, the low E string. Notice how I'm just palm muting that low string. I'm actually letting the other strings, the higher strings, ring out. And I do that by angling my wrist, angling my palm, so that I'm only palm muting maybe the bottom or the bottom 2 strings, the bottom 1 or 2 strings there. And you can practice that going between the A and the E string. You can see those repetitive riffs. It's almost like having your own rhythm guitar player with you.
Somebody says if you have a bass player with you, can you back off the low string?
Yeah, if you have a bass player with you, then you don't have to do any of that with the low string, really.
You can Hill Country Blues.
Yeah, you can do it more intermittently. It gives you more freedom to break up your phrasing and do more accenting. So if I had a bass player that was playing that low string, basically that low root note, and really thumping that out, I could do more things like, I could use my thumb to hit some of those notes and flesh out the rhythm part a little bit stronger. The rhythm part, I mean the middle strings, like those chord fragments. And a lot of times if you have the bass player there, you're actually doubling the bass line even on the guitar, and what that does is it creates an even stronger effect, because having that guitar doing those bass notes, even with the bass player there, helps to define that Hill Country Blues sound even stronger. So just because the bass player's there doesn't mean you should really let off of playing that bass line on the guitar part. It just makes it to where, let's say you stop for a riff or two, there won't be an empty void in the song, there won't be an empty void in the arrangement, so it gives you a little more freedom.
Keith said nice shirt, and the other Keith said nice boots.
Oh, thank you.
Somebody else wants to see the amp.
Yeah, and the amp, I was just about to talk about that. This amp I picked up from a buddy of mine out at the St. Louis Cigar Box Guitar Festival in St. Louis. And it's this awesome amp. It's built by Oddbox Amps. is the company that makes it. It's made out of this old dynamite crate, so it's a really cool amp. It's got several inputs, you know, input for power. It runs off a 9-volt battery. Even as loud as it is, it just runs off a single 9-volt battery. And it also has auxiliary inputs and outputs, so you can plug it into different systems. And let me turn this around for you so you can see inside. It even opens up so you can see what's inside, the wiring in there. And again, there's the 9-volt battery, so you can change that out. Looks like it's got about an 8-inch speaker, 6 or 8-inch speaker in there. But it just sounds great, and it just feels cool. It looks cool. It's a great portable practice amp for situations like this. It's got distortion, tone, and volume for the knobs. And again, that's Oddbox amps out in St. Louis.
Scott Tybalt says, can you use this method on a 3-string?
You can. Someone's asking if you can use this Hill Country Blues method of rocking that bass line and playing melodies at the same time on a 3-string guitar. You can do this on any type of guitar. You can do it on, as long as you have more than one string, basically. I've done this on a 2-string guitar. I actually have some in-depth instruction on my DVD series on how to play Mississippi Hill Country Blues for the 3-string guitar. And that is on my DVD called Slide Technique for the 3-string guitar. And that's available at rootsmusicschool.com. And all of my DVDs, I've got 5 DVDs, a book, and more instructional material, all available at rootsmusicschool.com and justinjohnsonlive.com.
You have another Keith that likes your hat. We need to open a clothing line that's like clothes for Keith.
There's a lot of fashionable Keiths out there today. Well, you know, I'm going to play a little bit different approach. You know, you can take this same approach of playing that Mississippi Hill Country style with your thumb, you know, playing that rhythm guitar with your thumb, and you can modify that somewhat to whatever style you want to play. And it's not really much different than playing what's called Travis picking, which is playing more of a ragtime piano part on guitar, sort of like playing ragtime guitar, ragtime piano on guitar. And instead of just playing, I'm going to play in G, do this G major bar chord right here, but I'm using my thumb to do it. So there's a G major chord, and I'm just going to hold that, and again I'm going to palm mute the bottom 3 strings this time, only the bottom 3 strings, and I'm going to play the ragtime part of what would normally be the left hand of a ragtime piano player. So normally they're hitting these low chords and chord fragments and bass notes down here with their left hand on a piano. And it'll sound something like this on guitar. And if you speed that up, it sounds more like a ragtime piano. So again, when you're practicing that, you want to just start by playing that rhythm. And it's the low string, the low E string, palm muted. And then I'm plucking a chord fragment with the D and the G string, basically the 3rd and 4th, the 2 middle strings. So I go from the low string to the middle 2, all palm muted, and then the A string, the 2nd to lowest one, and alternate with those middle 2 strings. And as you get comfortable, do that a little bit faster. Travis picking was named after Merle Travis, who really perfected this technique in a totally new way when he came along. It's also used by a lot of players like Doc Watson, Merle Watson, who was actually named after Merle Travis, and Mississippi John Hurt, one of my favorite blues players, is a master of this Travis picking style. He does it in more of a bluesy way, but it's essentially the same style. It's ragtime piano on the guitar. And so once you get good at that ragtime riff, then you can throw in those melody notes and chord fragments just like we were doing with the Mississippi Hill Country Blues. again, you can see it sounds like more than one person's playing. It sounds like one person's playing the bass line, and then there's another person playing chord fragments, and then another person playing lead. What's fun now when you're learning that and you want to get even more complicated, you just throw in some walking bass lines every now and again. So there you go. If you have any more questions, write them down on this thread here on Facebook, and I'll be glad to answer them as soon as I can get to them. Again, I want to thank Alan Van Story from Van Story Guitars right over there. You can find him on Facebook if you search for Van Story Guitars. And also check out Jerry's work at Oddbox Amps out of St. Louis. Once again, my name's Justin Johnson, and if you want to find out more about playing roots music, learning slide guitar, cigar box guitar, anything like that, check out rootsmusicschool.com and justinjohnsonlive.com. Thanks a lot for watching, everybody. Take care.